Well, good evening, everyone. Noswaith dda. Good evening and welcome to the final museum talk, winter talk of the 2020 season. My word, what a year, what a summer it's been. And I'm sure these are going to be the themes that we're going to be running through with our guest this evening. I'm delighted to say that back by popular request, the man who this summer took his 600th first-class wicket, but Michael Hogan. Good evening, Michael. How are you?
Andrew, very well. How are you?
I'm fine. I'm fine. It's an interesting time of year because I always reckon Christmas, when we start to hear the Christmas carols, we're halfway through the off season, and it means by the time we actually get into the new year celebrations, we're just that little bit closer to the start of the new year. Well, what I'm going to do is the same as we've done before, and also when we've been in person, because I'm going to very quickly just run through some images, a slideshow of some of your finest hours, Michael, and maybe this will prompt some of the questions a little bit later on. Well, of course, you are actually a South Walian, albeit in an Australian context, because of course you were born in Newcastle. Of course, that's Newcastle in New South Wales, not the one up in the northeast of England. And for anyone who isn't familiar with the geography of Australia, Newcastle there is just up the coast from Sydney. Michael started his major career, although we're going to be talking about how he got into cricket in the first place. Michael's career began with Merewether Cricket Club, or Merewether District Cricket Club, in the Newcastle District Cricket Association, and then moving on to Northern Districts in Sydney grade cricket. I think the trees at Sophia Gardens are very nice when they're in leaf, and clearly it's the same there at Northern Districts as well. Well, from there, as we'll be discovering, Michael, sorry, Mike, that's well, there is another one of a younger you, but but 2008, 2009, Michael made his debut for the New South Wales second 11, and then came what I can only describe as a life-changing conversation, and we'll hear from Hogs a little bit later how it was, and maybe even why it was, that Western Australia's coach Tom Moody made him an offer that he couldn't refuse. And that led to Hogs making his first-class debut for Western Australia against Victoria at Melbourne at the MCG. We think we've got a big stadium in Cardiff, but I think the MCG is just a tad larger, isn't it? And I'm not sure, Hogs, if you had your Weetabix that morning. I can see on your shirt there's some sponsorship, but I'm sure you did, and we'll hear about your memories of your debut in a few minutes. You also made your debut then, gosh, nearly 11 years ago then, in the KFC Big Bash for Western Australia. Ironically, it was against New South Wales at Perth, and there you are looking lean and moody. We just saw Tom, but there's a moody Hogs as well. Then in 2010 and 2011, you were Western Australia's most outstanding player of the year. That followed that sort of followed a breakthrough season really for you, securing a regular place, and we'll hear about what led you then to gaining a regular place in the WA team. You also carried on gaining further experience in T20 cricket, playing for the Hobart Hurricanes. And just a quick plug, if you haven't seen it already, you might want to look at the Glamorgan website. You might want to catch up on satellite TV, because a Glamorgan batsman did rather well last night for the Hobart Hurricanes. Colin Ingram hitting 55 in a victory for the Hobart Hurricanes. Hogs and I were just chatting before we started, and we're obviously hoping that Colin will keep a few runs in his locker for Glammy later on in the year. But always nice to see a Glamorgan batsman doing well, and a great start there for the Hobart Hurricanes. Well, again, another life-changing conversation took place thanks to Matthew Mott. You can see there Matthew standing alongside Edward Bevan. And in the top left there, Marcus North, who was Glamorgan's overseas player in 2012, another person who played with some success for Western Australia, and of course featured in the 2009 Ashes Test at Cardiff. It led to Michael coming over, making his first-class debut for Glamorgan in 2013. And I suppose you could almost say the rest is history. But 2013, a great start. I think that's Neil Bainton, the umpire there, with his back to us. I think that's lurking in the slips. I think that's, or in the gully, I think lurking there is Dean Koska. But of course, it's all attention on Hogs. Neil about to give someone out LBW, and a career best figures of 7 for 92 against Gloucestershire. Of course, 2013 also another landmark in both Hogs's career and also for Glamorgan, because 2013 was when the Welsh county reached the final of the Yorkshire Bank 40 competition. And I'm sure Hogs will share with us some of his memories, although not on a winning team that day, but this photo taken at the Ageas Bowl after a demolition job against Hampshire in the semi-final. No surprises there that Hogs won his Glamorgan cap, and here we are, a photo from the Balconeers dinner at the Towers Hotel near Swansea, where Hogs was formally presented with his Glamorgan cap. Also presented with Glamorgan Player of the Year 2013 and 2014, just the start of a series of honours that came Michael's way. Well, Michael retired from domestic cricket in Australia at the end of the 2014-15 season, and he's now been resident in Wales ever since. During that time, Michael has had spells as Glamorgan captain. You can see there in the centre of the photo, you can see Jacques Rudolph, who led Glamorgan to T20 finals day. And there we are, again, another landmark in recent times in the club's performances. So again, we'll hear from Hogs about what it was like in that match against the Birmingham Bears. And of course, we'll hear about what happened this year, the highlight being Hogs' 600th first-class wicket. If any of you were wondering which player it was, well, it was Luke Proctor of Northamptonshire, who will go down, or has already, I should say, gone down in the record books as being Mr. 600. But if you're wondering who the first one was, I'll let Hogs tell you about that, because I know from when Hogs 3.5 years ago spoke brilliantly in the museum, he never forgets his first. And I'm glad to say that the evening isn't going to be, well, my first wicket was this, my second was that. It's not going to be an evening like that. It's going to be full of reminiscences and good humour. And of course, we mustn't forget Hogs' stats. You'd expect nothing less from me. And what I'm really looking forward to next year is, and I'm sure Hogs is as well, his 100th first-class match for Glamorgan. you can see already in those 98 first-class games, 378 wickets in first-class cricket for Glamorgan at just 22 runs apiece. He's up there. That pure stat puts Hogs up there with some of the great names in the club's outstanding history. And of course, we also mustn't forget, in terms of the white ball game, Hogs is not too far away from 100 T20 wickets for Glamorgan. And of course, in the List A games as well, 67 wickets. So if you add all those up, we're talking about in excess of 500, nearly 550 wickets. And that's just since 2013. So it's going to be great. We're going to have an hour and a half then or more in the company of Michael Hogan. So Hogs, let's start right back at the very beginning then. Let's start with your early days in Newcastle. You had the sandy beaches to attract you and the cricket pitches. What was it that got you into cricket in the first place?
I played a bit of like it was called CNS cricket. So it was basically on concrete pitches, 30 overs a sides, Saturday afternoon, and had a bit of fun with a few mates. I hadn't played for since under 13s probably, so I hadn't played for probably 8 years, I guess. And yeah, did well. The long story short, one of the guys knew another guy who played grade cricket in Newcastle, and they had a chat and said he's way too good for our level. He should be playing district cricket. So had a chat, and then I registered, played at Merewether for in 2002-3 or 2003-4.
Yeah, 03-04.
That was the draw of all the mates that I used to surf with. They were playing cricket in the afternoon, so I played cricket with them, and that's sort of where it started.
So you said you used to surf with?
Yeah. So used to surf in the morning, and then cricket used to start at 1 p.m. And so I'd surf in the morning, go and play cricket in my white board shorts, and that was my Saturday.
Yeah, I don't think there are many Glamorgan players. I'll have to go through the record books a little bit later on. I'm not sure there are many who would have mixed surfing and playing cricket in a day. But can I just ask you, Hogs, about your early influences, and who did you model yourself on? Was there anyone on television you'd seen bowling, playing cricket for Australia or maybe for another country?
Look, I used to like, obviously, Glenn McGrath was the one at that time. When I first started, I guess, playing, I used to try and he had that little jump in that he used to do to get really tight to the stumps. I used to try and do that, but he was so good, and he was probably the one. I mean, I wouldn't say I modelled my action on him. I've got a pretty ordinary one, but in terms of tradition, I suppose, bowling actions. But he was the one, and his method of boring people into submission basically was sort of a good blueprint for where I would, eventually go to in my game.
Okay, did you go to the SCG? Did you go and watch any big matches, or were the lure of the beaches and your surf mates too great?
Well, actually, they played a few Sheffield Shield games in Newcastle. I guess it was similar to, I guess, where we would play a game at Colwyn Bay or Swansea. New South Wales played. Funnily enough, they played Western Australia in Newcastle, and it was Sean Marsh's debut, and he got 100. And the War brothers were playing, McGrath was playing, and they had a good side in, and those sorts. I remember that those games. And then I went to the SCG a few times to watch a few one-day games, but yeah, I remember the Shield games when they came to Newcastle.
Great. And then, so as you said, you'd moved into the Newcastle Association, and then a big step up then into grade cricket. If you had to make comparisons with the South Wales Premier League and the other clubs further west, how strong would you say grade cricket is compared with Premier League cricket in South Wales?
I would say Newcastle would be on par, be very similar. Moving into Sydney's probably the best grade cricket competition in the country, in terms of, you're regularly playing against first class cricketers, former first class cricketers, and also underage representatives, these sorts of things. So, but in terms of Newcastle, I would say it's probably on par. It's probably on par with the South Wales Prem.
Okay. And when you moved into Sydney grade cricket, you were still an amateur, I guess, and you were working for a living and playing cricket for fun.
Yeah. So, well, I wouldn't say there was a purpose, I guess, to moving to Sydney to play cricket. That was to try and make it. But I managed to get through the club, who had one of the players' fathers was a manager at the Hornsby Shire Council. So I managed to get a job on our local cricket ground, doing some curating and doing the wickets with the guy who used to do it. So that was, yeah, I was able to. They sorted me out with, I could earn a wage and be able to afford to live, because it's quite expensive in Sydney, but be able to afford to live down there while I tried to make it. And yeah, it's luckily I did, because it would have been quite tough traveling, I guess, from Newcastle to Sydney every week.
So your knowledge of how to prepare the pitches and having a look at the pitches has stood you in good stead.
I wouldn't say that. I mean, I prepared a few wickets, but I generally left that to the other guy. I would sit on the lawnmower, mate, basically, and
okay,
sort of
cut the grass. Would you be tempted to leave a little bit more grass on the wicket if you're going to be bowling on them a bit later?
I would have loved to, yeah. I would have loved to, like any bowler, I guess. But no, I mean, we played on a decent wicket. Most of the wickets in Sydney are for batters. So yeah, but no, it was good. I mean, that's that. I guess the cricket club, are in a long line of people that that deserve a lot of thanks to where I've managed to get to in my career, because they certainly helped while I was in Sydney. So.
Okay, now your big break, as it were, you said there was a sense of purpose in moving to Sydney to try to make it. You had several games then for the New South Wales second 11. So is that the same as Sheffield Shield, but just between second 11 teams?
Yeah, it's like Glamorgan second team. You've got probably half of the team is made up of the New South Wales staff players, and the other half would be well-performed club cricketers, or again, underage kids, players they see potential in. So that was managed to get into that side. Played a few games in Adelaide, actually. Yeah, so.
Great. Now, I mentioned a few minutes ago about Tom Moody, and How did that come about? I gather you might have been invited to bowl in nets or something. So talk us through it.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's probably been well documented. I still don't know how it all came about, how I've got that phone call, but yeah, it was basically an invitation to fly to Perth and bowl to a number of their first team players. Sean was there, Adam Voges, Luke Pommersbat, and they were about to go to the IPL. So they were still, was at the end of the season in Sydney, and they were still playing. So WA had a shortage of bowlers, and they were, I guess, trying something outside the box. And yeah, I managed to get the invite, and I think there was some very good former cricketers in Dennis Lilly, Bruce Reid, Terry Alderman was there, sort of along with Tom Moody, overlooking the whole thing, and yeah, I managed to impress someone. And yeah,
there's some big names there. Certainly some big shoes to follow in. Now they say behind every good man is a good lady, and were you married by this stage?
No, I wasn't married. Rach and I were together for not long, 3 months maybe.
Okay.
No, well, less than that. It was probably about 6 weeks. And yeah, so it sort of managed to work out that the contract started in June or July. So we were then together for a few more months. And yeah, she stayed. Rach was a lawyer in Sydney, so she stayed behind and kept working over there. And then pretty much just before the season started, she decided to move over, and here we are.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about your first class debut, Hogs, because I said in the introduction about your first class wicket, but your first class debut then coming at the MCG against Victoria, November 2009. What are your memories of that game?
We got beat. I remember that. No, it was actually, yeah. Obviously, quite a daunting place to go to, the MCG. I'd imagine probably a lot worse if it was full, but it was yeah. It's an amazing stadium. It's massive, but the whole place echoes every time there's a noise. And sort of, I remember being in my first. Luckily, we batted first, but I walked out to bat and I was quite overawed by the size and what was happening. And yeah, it was good. It was actually, I found it quite strange. It's quite a strange place to be at the time, but yeah, managed to shake the nerves. As I said, lucky we batted first. Otherwise, I think it would have been quite nervous bowling.
Okay, and your first wicket?
First wicket, Chris Rogers caught it first slip by Adam Voges. Yeah, it was a good ball, just snipped away from him down the line, and yeah, caught first slip. The
first of many, Hogs. The first of many. Who was Steve McGoffin at the other end bowling with you?
Magic Beans. He I can't remember. I'm not sure. Yeah, he probably played.
Or was it Ashley Noffke?
Noffke played. Brett Dawberry played, and I'm not sure. I think Mags might have played as well. Yeah.
Okay.
We had a decent bowling attack. Yeah.
Yeah, and in January, then your Big Bash, KFC Big Bash debut, this time at Perth, against New South Wales, so against some of the people who you'd been rubbing shoulders with only a short time before. So what was it like playing, making your debut then in the Big Bash?
That was good. Yeah, I remember we towed them up. I think Sean got 100.
Sean Marsh.
Yeah, and we beat him convincingly. That was good. Yeah, I think from memory I might have got Usman Khawaja out, and also Philip Hughes maybe.
Right.
Two lefties. Probably Phil Hughes was probably my first wicket, and yeah, Usman. I think Usman caught a deep square as well. I've got a good memory when it comes to wickets.
Well, you must have a very, very good memory for all 600 of your first class.
Yeah. But yeah, that was a good game. I mean, it was quite the 18,000 in there. It was yeah, that was a.
It was quiet, did you say?
No. It was quite good. It was quite.
Oh, sorry.
Quite an amazing experience. Yeah, where something again. Never been in that sort of situation, in that environment before, and it was good fun.
Great. Now, also that winter, of course, you made an appearance for, I think it was called a Western Australian 11 against the England touring team.
Yeah.
And you managed to claim the scalps of a couple of quite big names.
Yeah, I got a few. Yeah. We got Alistair Cook, I think, for less than 10, which I think that was the only time on that tour. He averaged about 150, so they should have picked me, really. Alistair Cook, Kevin Peterson, no.
Yes. Yeah.
He was caught at Gully, and also Paul Collingwood.
Okay, that's not bad for someone who's let's say a rookie in the team, and of course that was all part of the preparation ahead of the Ashes series. But we'll gloss over. We'll gloss over the result of that, Hogs, if you don't mind. But what we will move on to, though, is you then, having been a rookie, you then secured a regular place in the team, and it was a shame that it was the retirement of Ashley Noffke, and it was a shame that there was an injury to Steve McGoffin. And so clearly WA had been thinking about their succession policy. We'll talk about Glamorgan and bringing on homegrown youngsters a little bit later. But certainly you then, having kept your teeth, as it were, the previous year in 09-10, a chance then to be a regular face in 2010 and 2011. How did that feel?
Yeah, I mean, it happened, I guess, yeah. Mags's injury, which, was bordering on career ending. He managed to have a surgery, and he was cut from the list. And I think Brett Dorey had a bad Achilles injury as well. He tore his Achilles, and he never got back to as good as he once was. So it was a bit of a, I don't know. It's it is right that you're what we've got left. Can you lead our attack? And it was, you could have, I guess I could have gone into Michelle, but it was probably the opportunity that I've been waiting for years, and also believed that I could do. And yeah, I'm glad that I'm glad. I mean, I had the belief that I could do it, and I trusted my ability. And I understood after the year before what first class cricket was about, and yeah, I guess took that leadership role on, and yeah, really enjoyed it.
Yeah, because of course, unlike some other rookies, you weren't a young guy in their early 20s. You were a guy making your debut nearer 30 than 20. So do you think your age and your experience playing in Newcastle and then playing in Sydney grade cricket, do you think that helped you enormously then to make the step up?
Yeah, yes and no. I mean, it's obviously quite a different level, but I think with age, it actually brings, I guess, the ability to listen. So when you're actually told something, like I remember when my first year, Tom Moody said, and you're not you're playing at the whacker, you are not a quick bowler, you're not a nasty fasty, you're there to bowl line and length, top of off stump, and that's where you'll do well. And I guess as a 28-year-old who wanted to play for a very long time, that information was valuable, and I was able to say, yeah, okay, fair enough. Whereas I think if I was 21, which you see a lot these days, I probably yeah, whatever, brushed him off and kept going about it my way. But I think that's, yeah, the ability to listen and take information in and accept it as, I mean, he was a very good cricketer in his own right, I guess, Moods, but accept the information and trust that they know what they're talking about. It's you don't see that much in younger players, but they learn soon enough. But yeah, you don't see it as often as you would an older guy.
Yeah, and you were also then at the following, the end of that season, you were the Western Australia Most Outstanding Player of the Year, and I have to ask, did you start to have aspirations, maybe of wearing the baggy green?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, of course. I mean, they were going through a bit of a transition period, I think, in terms of their players that were sort of coming to the end of their careers, but I guess, and then they had a number of guys coming through that didn't have a great deal of experience in terms of first class cricket, and I guess yeah, of course, I wanted to play first class cricket, but I wearing the baggy green would have been the ultimate, and that is what I strive to do while I was playing there.
There were a couple of occasions, I think, when you were chosen in prime ministers or invitational teams. I think there were a couple in T20, weren't there?
Yeah, there was a few different ones. I mean, there was we played against an Australian 11 in a T20 game, which Tim Payne busted his finger and did quite well in that one as well. But I mean, it was good to get the recognition and to play those games. But yeah, as I said, I would have loved to play international cricket, but it wasn't to be. But I'm very happy and proud of what I've achieved so far.
Yeah, and all of us on this side of the equator, or the northern side, all of us here in South Wales, and all the Glamorgan supporters on the call tonight are very grateful, obviously, for your sterling efforts over the last few years. So let's talk now about how you came to Glamorgan's attention. I mentioned earlier on about Matthew Mott, who, of course, was back then the Glamorgan first team coach, spending his time as well in Australia over the winter. Of course, we're really looking forward to seeing Motty again when the 100 kicks off. Really looking forward to that in July and August. He's, of course, having we tend to do well for grooming coaches, just like Hempy was saying in the last talk, because of course Motty, having been Glamorgan coach, is now coaching the Australian women's team and doing really, really well, and coming over to coach the Welsh Fire women. But talk us through how Motti came to recommend you to Glamorgan.
Yeah, I mean, talking with Marcus North, and he just mentioned that I had a British passport and was looking to play county cricket at some stage. You know, and that was sort of the conversation. Northie was the overseas pro here in 2012, 13, and that conversation moved into, yeah, I guess I signed in 2012, and you know, through various circumstances, wasn't able to come midway through 2012, but yeah, that was it. That was the deal. It was done. I said I'd be here for 2013. So, and that was as easy as it panned out. Yeah.
Yeah, and I can remember you made your debut at Cardiff, and it wasn't long before you were getting people just like Chris Rogers to nick off into the slips. And what are your memories then of your earliest games, Hogs, for Glamorgan?
There's a few. I remember, yeah, there was, I think it was Pedro Peters. I'd done him with an in-swinger, shouldered arms to get my first wicket. But it was
that was Stephen Peters of Worcester, yeah.
Yeah. It was Northants. It was.
Sorry, yeah.
It was cold. I remember that. It snowed the first day I arrived. Had
you seen snow before?
Yeah, I used to ski in Australia. Funnily enough.
Oh, okay. Skiing, surfing, a man of many talents.
We've got snowfields in Australia. Not many, but we've got a small one down Canberra way. But yeah, it was cold. That was good. I mean, to sort of, I wanted to start well. I probably didn't start as well as I would have liked, but did okay in my first game. I think second or third one I got my first five for, and that was okay. You sort of got into the swing of it and got used to how I needed to bowl and where I needed to bowl, and once it started to warm up, once I got into sort of May time, it was it was good. I started to enjoy myself a bit more.
Okay, it was a little bit, so Old South Wales was becoming a little bit more like New South Wales then.
I think in that year, we started on like the 5th of April. It was a really early start.
Yeah,
it wasn't pleasant. No.
We have played some games even in March, so I'm all in favour of this global warming. So we have a longer cricket season, which sounds good. But if I could ask you, because we have got some questions who are from people who are asking about comparisons with the system and the structure in Australia. Of course, when you first came over, there was a little bit of a mix of red ball cricket in the championship, and then there was some white ball games thrown in. It wasn't as blocked off as it has been in more recent years. So how did you adjust then to the question that's come in? How did you adjust then to the 7 days a week on the county circuit?
Yeah, I mean, it was tough to start. I mean, we used to, I guess, from being in Perth, it was such a long travel. You know, we would play, travel, have a day off, play a 4-day game, have a day off, and then play a 1-day game, then fly back. And it was sort of like a you were always moving over there. But I've always enjoyed rolling on to just keep playing and playing and playing. So I've actually found it quite good. There were some times where you were sort of out on your feet, really, really struggling. But for the most part, just learning your craft the morning of a game or during sort of almost in games, learning new things, trying new things. I used to enjoy it. I enjoy, once I'm up and running, I think if I have a break, I tend to sort of go backwards. So I've always enjoyed playing as much cricket as I can now.
And in 2013, your first full season with Glamorgan, it was a great start in the white ball in the Yorkshire Bank 40. We got on to a bit of a roll. I can remember there was a game against Yorkshire at Headingley, then game against Hampshire at the Aegeus Bowl, and then, of course, walking out at Lord's. It was almost a fairy tale for you in your first year, but there aren't many in the history of Glamorgan cricket, Hogs. There isn't a huge long list of people who've represented Glamorgan in cup finals at Lord's. 1977, there were 11. The year 2000, another 11, and 2013, we'll have to make amends in 2021 as well. But what are your memories of the Yorkshire Bank 40 campaign?
I mean, we played nicely. We didn't have you wouldn't say we had a team of world beaters, but we had a solid side. We played. I remember the game at Lord's against Middlesex, where Marcus North made 140 odd. I remember there was a good game at Swansea against Leicester. Remember that game? That was a nice one as well. But yeah, the one at Yorkshire, where Waggy hit a couple of sixes, I think they played it quite nicely, where Yorkshire had to use their bowlers, their big bowlers, to try and get a wicket. And it turned out that, in doing that, and us managed to stave it off, that they had to bowl I can't think of who was bowling.
Richard Pyra.
The medium pacer, and Waggy whacked him for a couple of sixes, and towards the rugby league pitch to win the game. And then we were waiting for the draw. I remember waiting for the draw to come in for the semi-final. I managed to, Hampshire, obviously the team that at that time they were in the final every year, and drew them. Jim Allenby had a really good game that semi-final. He made 70 over the bat and on a slow wicket, and then bowled his 8 overs straight up the top. Did quite well, and then I managed to finish off at the death. Got a few wickets. That image just put up there, I think that was Sean Irvine was caught at long on.
Yeah.
And that pretty much that he was their last recognised player, and that was sort of when we realised that we could win the game. And the Lord's final, I mean, obviously underdogs again, which we probably were all the way through really. But I remember walking, that was packed. Probably, I would say, it sounded like 2/3 Glammy, 1/3 Knots. The game obviously didn't go our way. They had a quite strong side. We had some opportunities where we, could have put ourselves right on the front foot. I think we dropped Dave Hussey at mid-off. when he was in single figures, that would have put him right on the back foot. I think it would have been 4 or 5 down for not many. He managed to put a partnership together.
Chris Reed.
Reedy, yeah.
Yeah.
And then they sort of hit a few at the end, but it spun Samit Patel, spun us out through the middle, basically. And I think Stuart Broad, Graham Swan, the list just goes on and on. But yeah, I mean, the atmosphere there was, Welsh hymns being sung and that sort of thing. It was an enjoyable game to be involved in, but just disappointing in the way that it panned out. We when we had our chances to probably get on top and boss the game, and didn't quite take them.
Yeah, and of course it was Simon Jones's final game in a Glamorgan shirt. A shout out to Simon. Yesterday is his father Jeff turned 80, but Glamorgan's bowling attack then with Hogan and Jones, a fair bit of international experience, and of course a young off spinner, Andrew Salter. Also in his first year of big cricket, as it were, and making a Lord's final. So I'm sure we'll put it right in the not too distant future. But let's move on to 2014, Hogs, because early on in that season, I think it was at Bristol against Gloucestershire, where you got your 100th first class wicket for Glamorgan, only your 20th game. I think I dug out a stat to say you were up there as one of the quickest, but you also got a 10 wicket match haul at Sapphire Gardens against Kent. And I just want to keep the Kent theme going, because there was one game in 2014 that I still remember, and it was that final over of the T20 game, where somehow or other, it's all down to your superb skills, of course, but somehow or other, Kent, who looked like they had the game there for the taking, it didn't happen. What are your memories of that game?
Yeah, I mean, I think I remember we made about 170 odd, 173, 174. Started quite well with the ball, and I think we basically had him on toast, but Darren Stevens teed it up and got them into a position where they couldn't lose. They couldn't lose as well. They couldn't anyway, as it turns out. But yeah, got them into a position where they should have won the game. I remember Jack Rudolph brought Salts back on to bowl the 18th over, 18th, I think, yeah, and had Steve-O caught it at Cow, slog sweeping caught at Cow. Sort of opened the door a little bit for us. Waggy bowled the 19th and went, I think he got off the last ball of his over, he got hit for a 4 or a 6, which, if he had got that, I was thinking if he could keep that ball to 1, then we're in with a shout. We got hit for a 4 or a 6, and they needed 3 to win. And then it was sort of, I don't know, it's a bit of a, in those sort of situations when there's no pressure on you to actually, it's a lot easier to concentrate on your skill. So yeah, I managed to bowl a few dot balls, get a few wickets, hit my Yorker really well, and then there's a few singles, and Doug Bollinger faced the last ball, and he basically bowled a good Yorker. He swung and missed, and he, for whatever reason, he didn't run, forgot to run, and we ran him out. So bit of a not really sure how to react. Like, it was tied game, drawn game, but so I mean, as when I was in Australia, I wasn't really seen as a white ball bowler, especially not at the death, where I always used to think that my skills were good enough to perform there. And that's sort of really, I mean, I did quite well the previous year with Glammy, but that game was really where I showcase what I could do and how I was good at that. I guess at that skill.
Yeah, it was. As I said, it was, and I have to remain completely impartial in the score box, and or if I've got the microphone, I mustn't let my emotions carry me away. But I know I was jumping up and down when that run out, purely, of course, to try and identify who it was. My memory serves me right that Jacques Rudolph ran in, and I think Darren Sammy came in as well. And it looked like Jacques was going to throw it or lob it to Darren Sammy, but Jacques just carried on. And I think you were there, and I was obviously on the scoring computer. I've got to make sure that you identify who it is who breaks the wicket. And I jumped up on my feet. Yes, Glamorgan are going to. It's another great day for Glamorgan, and it was another great day. For you, a little bit later that year, because in 2015, your final year then in domestic cricket in Australia, because I gather that we'll talk about some of the curious records, some of your batting feats. We've talked about all your bowling, but we'll come on to some of your batting feats as well. But I gather that you actually, one of your batting feats is that you are the proud possessor of the most number of runs in the Sheffield Shield by a number 11 batsman. If I've done my homework right, 599 runs.
Yeah.
And yeah.
It's the record. I'm not sure of how many runs, but yeah, it is. I am the record holder there. Yeah. So.
Right. Well, someone has to be pretty good to go past that, Hogs. And I gather that you're still in the record books in WA for a 10th wicket stand. So talk me through the 10th wicket stand for WA.
Yeah, Ashton Agar and I put on the 90 odd at the Gabba. Nice wicket. We actually put a few partnerships on that year for the 10th wicket, but yeah, that one was a good one. We had them in the field for a long time, and they were tired, and yeah, we managed to take advantage of that. I made 40 odd. Ash made 50 odd. So yeah, I mean, I've always, I guess, batting's not really been, I guess, what's the best way? I've not really been ambitious, I suppose, with batting. That's not been my concern. I've always enjoyed batting, and I've worked a bit. I've done a bit in the nets. I don't do a huge amount, but pre-season mainly, I'll have a hit and stuff. But other players, I suppose, are more ambitious with their batting, and they want to move up the order, and they want to do that. And I'm more than happy to oblige. Really, fine. It's. That's my main concentration has been my number one skill, and batting comes as, I guess, I take pride in my batting, and there's been certain situations where I've had to save games, or we've win games, won a few games with WA batting at 11, and saved a few games here batting at 11. These sorts of things, and there's certainly, it's not just go out there and swing and have a bit of a laugh, but when the situation allows it, then yeah, that's fine. But but as I said, it's my main concentration through my career has always been my bowling, and batting's just a little bit of a that's also part of the game, but I'm here to bowl, and that's what I work most on.
Yeah, I know. Talking about number 11 batters, there is another number 11 Glamorgan batter who better remain nameless, who is rather envious of your records, because he said he would have featured in a few records, but he kept running out of partners. And but let's keep this theme of 10th wicket partnerships going, because in 2015 at the Woodbridge Road Ground in Guildford, Glamorgan against Surrey. The facilities there, not anything like the Oval, but nice tented villages, a little bit like Cheltenham, but without the chapel and other things. But I can remember in the marquee where we were scoring, the press were raving over 100 by I think it was Errol Haranath, which put Surrey into a reasonable position. But then Glamorgan respond with a 10th wicket partnership as well, and this time it's Messrs Wag and Hogan adding 105, with Waggy going on to a maiden double 100. Now, I've got to ask you, Hogs, did you feel under extra pressure in that case? Because I know you and Waggy have been good mates. And did you change your technique, or did you change your approach as Waggy got into the, dare I say it, the nervous 190s, if indeed there are such things?
No, I didn't. I mean, as I said, we put on 105. I think I made 20 on off about 14 balls, maybe. But yeah, Waggy, I mean, he was sitting there quite nicely, and obviously anything remotely in his area, he was hitting for 6, and we were enjoying ourselves all the way up until I think it was like there was a ball or two ball. Waggy was on 198, and there was a ball or two left in Tom Curran's over, and he came down and said, "Right, I may never get another chance at this. Just block it out, and then I'll try and get my double, and then we can, whatever happens." And so I tried to block it out. In the first ball, I think I squirted just short of gully, and then the second ball, I went to defend and just got an inside edge on it. went down to fine leg. It's the worst I've looked in the whole in my innings, but got through it. Got through those two balls, and then first ball, Waggy got 2 down to fine leg, and got out the next ball. So cost me 50.
But you did say you were paid to do the bowling, and I can remember you also delivered quite a feisty, quite a tasty little spell in that match.
Yeah, there was periods. I think, as you said, Aaron Haranath, he got 100 in both innings, I think, in that game.
Yeah.
But he was batting quite nicely. I think I had him dropped. But sort of gets you identify periods in games where where it matters, and we just nipped a few wickets out and come back on, and had to be on the game. But yeah, managed to get 5 for in that second innings, I guess, and put us in a good position to win the match. Which did we get them? None down? No, we got them maybe 2 down. But yeah, managed to get 5 for in that second innings, and put us in a position to win game. And I think Braggy and maybe Ben Wright put on a partnership to win the game.
Yeah. Let's talk about your 50s, because we've got a couple of questions that have come in. Graham, who's on the call, is asking when you get into the 40s and you can see a 50, and I know you prize those 50s, but do you change your technique?
Oh no, I wouldn't say I changed my technique.
You just keep going.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think. I've got 50 at Colin Bay. Probably, I don't know. Maybe. Not technique, certainly not technique, but maybe it's my approach. I mean, I certainly can't remember bringing up a 50 with a boundary. I know the one at Northants, not your season just gone, the one before, I hit a single. And I think the one at Colin Bay against Lancs, I hit a single. So where is it? I think he's just sent another message.
Yeah. And what about when your partner's on 49 as well?
Depends on who the partner is. And I guess situation of the game as well. But yeah, it depends on who the partner is. If they've got 50 before, if they're recognised batter, they've got 50. And again, the situation of the game where we're either trying to push the game on or whatever, that's sort of weighs on the decision.
Yeah, no, that's a great answer, Hoax, because as you said, it's the state of the game. Of course, cricket, a team game played by individuals. We've been talking about individual achievements, but it's a team game at the end of the day. And in 2017, you had your first taste of captaincy. Jacques Rudolph, his career coming towards an end, but it was Captain Hogan. Yeah. So what was the Captain Hogan style?
You know, it's a hard one. I have a style. I like to put more trust in the player, in terms of, you know, when we're out in the field and reading the game, bowling wise particularly. I would get the players' feel, and then obviously set a field accordingly to how they wanted to go about it, and then, you know, it's all about their execution. But then, and then in terms of batting, I mean, my philosophy, I guess, on batting was, I like to, the focus on the first 30 balls and try and establish your innings before you go and do anything silly. And it was sort of, yeah, I mean, it was a tough time, I guess, because we didn't necessarily have the experience. We lost some players, and we didn't have the players we would have liked. And I think my expectations were a little bit more, I guess, probably higher than the reality, I suppose, of what we were facing. Which, no disrespect to the players that we had on the pitch, but there were a lot of players who were either in their first year or just starting their careers, which were almost learning their game, learning how to play at a professional level against Paul Collingwood or against the established first class cricketers. And it just, without that experience there and people to learn off, we didn't really have a method to we didn't have anything to sort of teach these kids on the pitch how to sort of go about their business, which was frustrating at times, and was for me, but also I guess for them, very, very sort of disheartening. And I'm sure that everyone would have watched the cricket through that sort of 2018 period where it was obviously a disappointing year for the club, which it was tough to be a part of, and obviously to be in control of, really.
Yeah, you're focusing there obviously on the Red Bull cricket when you say disappointing, but there were there were some highlights in 2017, especially the run in the T20 competition. The previous year we'd come comfortably second. Some harsh people might say we came third against the Yorkshire Vikings in the quarter-final, but the Leicestershire Foxes came to Cardiff, and of course that that very svelte fox-like character Mark Cosgrove in the Foxes team, and Glamorgan went and did a demolition job on the Foxes.
Yeah, good game. Remember, we sort of we felt. I remember in the lead up, we sort of felt they relied heavily on Luke Ronke. He scored a lot of their runs, and I think we felt like if we could get rid of him, I think what was the other one? I think it was Cameron Delport.
Yeah. And
Shanna Martian Delanga bowled him with a Yorker first over or second over, and then Waggy got Ronk out pretty cheaply, and we sort of felt like that was, we had the confidence out of those two dismissals, and we really bossed that game. Probably through experiences from the previous year as well, where I think when you get a taste and you continue to play in those big games, you understand how to play and when to take your chances. And that was a good game. It was a good game to be involved in.
And then to Edgbaston for finals day and the semi-final against the Birmingham Bears.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it was disappointing. But we it was obviously a good wicket. We didn't start as well as we would have liked. I think what's his name?
Ed Pollock.
Ed Pollock got us early on. We didn't sort of read the play very well there.
He survived. He did survive a big appeal, I remember, in the first over.
Yeah. I mean, you win some, you lose some, really. But yeah, got away from us a little bit. They made 180, I suppose. 180, and Jacques played nicely. Disappointing. I mean, when he got run out, we were sort of in a good position there, and Salts came out at the end in the last over and hit Chris Wokes for a couple of sixes, and we were sort of within touching distance, I guess, of the win, and he got caught on the boundary last ball. So I mean, it was a good experience. Awesome to play in front of a packed house there. Remember the Glammy supporters were sort of at sort of mid-wicketish area. You always identify the flag there, but I mean, it was a nice experience. It's a shame we couldn't get over the line in that first game, but yeah, we had a really good tournament again off the back of the year before.
Yeah, well, let's now talk about the summer that wasn't, or the short summer that we experienced with competitive cricket restarting on August the 1st. I mean, little did we think this time last year when we were celebrating Christmas and seeing in the new year. I don't think any of us would have predicted what happened. So let's talk about cricket in lockdown. Hogs, what was it like?
I mean, it was surreal, I suppose. It took a lot of getting used to. There was, I suppose it was hard to find any sort of. And that was weird. There was so much going on that it was almost like cricket was an afterthought, I suppose, in terms of, you think about your family and you think about everything else that's happening. And what is going to happen in the future. There was so much to worry about, I suppose, before we had to concentrate on cricket. And then sort of, through that period, we were furloughed, and we might start. No, we're not starting. Oh, we might start on. No, we're not starting there. And then obviously got to August, and right, we're going to start. Well, got to July. So right, we're going to start training now. So in you go. Try and have a rushed month's preparation, and then play in August. So it was a little bit different to a lot different to what we're normally accustomed to. We're training now at the moment. We would have been training for 3 or 4 months leading up to that first game, where it was really, obviously Glamorgan's finances and those sorts of things probably dictated how soon we were allowed to go back to training as well. And that probably showed on the pitch, where we were underdone, particularly in our fielding. We dropped a lot of catches, and I guess, it was just a little bit of a bit surreal, the way the whole thing is still playing out now.
Well, fingers crossed with the vaccine being rolled out this week. Fingers crossed that by the time we get to April, that we'll be back to as near to normal as possible. But let's not forget 2020 was, and I'm sure 2021 will be, a very special year for you, Hogs, because you had all of your testimonial events scheduled. I know chatting with you, I think it was around about February, looking forward to hosting an event in the museum, helping you with some other events in and around Cardiff. So for you as well, to have all these extra things going on in 2020, you had a lot on your plate.
I did, for a period of time. I mean, again, off the back of the last question, the testimonial almost became an afterthought, really. There was so many things happening that, obviously that testimonial was put on hold, and that was, I guess, it was, we had a lot of hard work in the lead up to a lot of organisation from a lot of people, and there were things planned, but that's sort of became when the virus started playing out the way it did. It was a small issue in the bigger picture, really. And
the plans then to roll everything over to next year, am I right?
Yeah. I mean, the board voted to roll it over to next year, which is good, and it's hopefully we can get back to being able to host some events and things like that, and we can we can have a bit of fun throughout the season, but also maybe put some smiles on people's faces again, and allow them to enjoy themselves and have a bit of fun, hopefully. So we look forward to what might happen in the next in the next year.
Yeah, I know everyone else on the call is really looking forward to supporting you. You've given us a lot to smile about, and it's only right and proper that we get that opportunity. I'm just going to lapse into Welsh for us to say diolch yn fawr. Now, I know, Hogs, that you understand a little bit of Welsh because your children are at school in the Newport area, where they're learning the language of heaven.
They are learning the language, yeah. So I've not studied the languages as much as they have, unfortunately. So, but Buddy, my eldest, he's got a Welsh workbook, which, you know, he does a lot of writing and stuff like that. And it's impressive. It's impressive to see. I have no idea what he is writing, but yeah, and he talks about the weather in the back of the car in Welsh and stuff. It's nice. I'm glad that he's learning a second language, and he loves it. Yeah.
Okay, I hope he's not saying Bwrw Glaw too many times, and I'm sure in the summer it'll be Brava Haylog. But there's a question that's come in from Steve on a Welsh theme. What is it about Glamorgan and the Welsh in particular that makes it so special?
I mean, it's, you know, I think the fans, the Glamorgan fans and followers are quite passionate about the way, you know, they want the team to play cricket, which is, you know, can be good, or, you know, it's obviously we haven't performed as well as, you know, they would have liked, and it's obviously disappointing for them. But yeah, the passion that they show, and again, you go back to 2013, 2017 when we played in the finals, and those, you know, the after the game at the Aegeus Bowl, where the travellers and the followers were down below the stands, and they were singing, and they were as happy as we were that we made that final. That sort of passion, you know, that's the sort of things that you sort of, well, I recognise and take in, the way that they, at every game, there's always the travellers banner at every away game. John Williams and the Balconeers, they travel around. You don't get that sort of support in Australia. You get it when you go to home games, and that's it. But, you know, it's the passion and the following, they're everywhere, and they're always there, which is it's nice to see.
Yeah, and it was a huge shame that they weren't able to be there at Northampton. I know that there was a Balconeers daffodil tours, and as you said, the travellers and the followers planning to be at Northampton, and instead, everyone, I'm sure, watching the live stream on the Glamorgan website, the excellent stream, it must be said, that my colleagues at Glamorgan County Cricket Club have put together. And even though we're all in our homes, even though we were all self-isolating and doing our own thing, I could hear a collective loud peal of applause when Luke Proctor was caught by Chris Cook. I know it was something of a monkey off your back to get the 600th, and I must apologise, Hogs, for having said it right back at the start of the season, then putting the stats stuff up on the website. So I'm sorry if I over-egged it, but what did it mean to you to actually become the proud possessor of 600 first-class wickets?
Well, yeah, I guess it's I mean, it was good to get it out of the way in the end. I mean, I think I wouldn't normally put that sort of pressure on myself to get those wickets. And it's, I suppose, yeah, for whatever reason, that sort of grew, and yeah, it sort of took over my thinking periods of time. I mean, I had a few drop catches through there, and it was spoken about, and it was, yeah, it's not, I mean, 599, 600 was one wicket difference, isn't really much anyway, but it was, yeah, I don't know. It was just good to get it out of the way. Yeah, finally, I suppose it's not, I mean, in terms of, I guess, is it a milestone? 600, 500 is probably a milestone. 1,000 is probably a milestone. I don't know if 600 is really a milestone, but
well,
it sort of got in the way a little bit, and it's sort of, yeah, it's disappointing that it actually filled so much of my thinking through a period of those 5 games.
Well, it's 600 more wickets than I've ever taken. I think most of the people on the call have taken as well for Glamorgan. It's something, the records are there and they can never take that away from you. But I've got to say the number 22 now, because of course you're on 378 first class wickets for Glamorgan, and I've got a stat I'm preparing. I'm going to keep all the other names up my sleeve for I've got to do something ready for the start of the new season. But I want to just finish this part of the talk by looking ahead in your goals and your targets for 2021 and beyond. I'm quite sure that a further 22 first-class wickets to get to the magic 400. I think you might be struggling, if you don't mind me saying, Hogs, to get 1,000. I think you're going to, you might be drawing some pension money by that time. But what are your goals and your targets?
I haven't got any really. I don't sort of set targets. I think if you set targets, you tend to limit yourself as to what you can achieve, I suppose. You know, I guess so. I want to take 50 wickets as a benchmark, as a
50 in the championship or 50 in all?
50 in the championship.
Yeah.
Hopefully we have a full season and I'm able to do that. And I guess the way that sort of the season played out and the way we played our T20 stuff, I want to get myself back in that team. You know, I didn't play a game this year for a few reasons. I mean, I had a knee issue which I've had surgery on in 5 weeks ago now to sort of clean up. But Matt had a way in which he wanted to structure the sort of the bowling innings, and I guess with the spinners, and it actually played out quite nicely the way the spinners performed. And he said, as he said, he wanted to give to Tim van der Gutten the first chance at the seamer spot there, which was, and rightly so as well. He was bowling nicely, and he did nicely. He did quite well in the tournament. So I guess that's a plan. That's a goal, I suppose, or something that I'll be striving for, is to force myself back into that team. But apart from that, I just play a full season, solid cricket.
Yeah, and Matt, as Graham has just pointed out, Matt had a plan, and we had 5 bowlers, and the unit worked really well. In all, I think it was 8 of with the 10 games, others being rain affected, and the unit there. But obviously, will be. Well, I haven't seen the fixtures, or they're not out for several weeks, I gather. But the idea, I think, will be that we'll be reassessing and building on, as you said, building on those successes. And it was. We'll have to see how things unfold, and of course, next year we'll have the 100 as well, taking place, all the home men's games and women's games at Cardiff as well. We've seen, and it's great news to hear that Colin Ingram has pledged to Glamorgan for 2021 and beyond, and is going to do some mentoring and some coaching work with some of the youngsters. If Glamorgan were to come to you, Hogs, and make a similar offer to you, what would you say?
No. Look, my that's part of my role at the moment. Mentoring some of the younger guys coming through is part of my job, but I guess I'm a believer in terms of coaching wise. After you finished playing, I suppose more is probably the more the reference in which I speak now. But in terms of coaching, you need to separate yourself from the game for a bit. And also it can be quite tricky to coach people that you've had a, I guess, playing relationship with and a friendship with, I suppose, when you need to make some tough decisions. It can be, all the more tougher by that sort of relationship that you've forged. So, I think you need to separate yourself from that for a period of time, and maybe explore other options. That this isn't the right or the wrong way, I suppose, but this is, I guess, the way that my mind works, I think. And yeah, if after my time, I'd probably like to get into coaching at some point, but I think I probably need to step away from the game just for a period of time, just to reassess and refresh, I suppose, and not be aware of everything that goes on before you move back into it. But yeah, I guess in terms of now this year, my role as well as playing is to, in this winter, is to mentor, give some guidance on and off the pitch, I suppose. Try and help these younger guys establish themselves and establish.
They couldn't have a finer role model than someone with 600 first-class wickets and all the others we said in List A and T20. Well, we're going to move on to the questions. I'm delighted that we've had loads of questions coming in advance, and if anyone has questions they'd like to raise as well, as several people have been using already the chat function, so please do that. We've got a question from Duncan, who's said, out of your 600, I'm guessing now first class wickets then, which wicket do you rate as your finest? Which is the one that puts the biggest smile on your face?
There's a lot. There's some, different situations in games where, I suppose, relate differently. Probably the Alistair Cook one, in the game at the Wacker. That was probably turned out, the way he performed in that Ashes series, it probably turned out to be more, after what he did, be more of a, I guess, prize scalp, I suppose. But then there's other times in other games where batsmen are getting chirpy and they're starting to give you a bit of lip and things like that, and you get them out, or there's winning games. But yeah, so I would say, yeah, there was. I used to really enjoy getting Ed Cowan out.
Okay, the opening batter, yeah.
For no real, I don't know why. He was such a boring player. I really enjoyed getting him out. And then there's over here, I suppose, it was always, that look for their best batter, look for their best player, and sort of make that contest and try and win that contest. That's sort of what I've always set out to do, is to pick the best matchup and win the contest.
Okay. There's a question that's come in from Gareth, which is slightly similar, but in your career, who's the hardest batsman you've ever had to bowl at?
Phil Jakes. Phil Jakes in his prime was tough, because especially for me, you used to think you could get him sort of LBW, I suppose, swinging it back, but with my action, could never really pitch it in line. Stump, so he used to almost shovel. He would sort of pick me up over mid wicket when he was in, and then if he sort of got a little bit too wide, he cut me through point. I found it really tough to bowl to him. Nightmares, really. And that was sort of the start of towards early part of my career. But yeah, Phil Jakes was really tough to bowl to for me.
Okay, we've got another really good question that's come in from Simon, who's I don't know if he's got a hotline to Ed Smith, the chairman of selectors, but Simon's asked the question: who's the most underrated batsman in county cricket? And you can't say yourself.
Underrated. It's hard to say, really, after last season. I would say most of the players are on the radar, really. I couldn't pick one.
I mean, I know a lot of people over the years have been wondering why the likes of James Hildreth, Daryl Mitchell, who keep churning runs out year after year. But I think, anyway, so I know under the current championship system, Glamorgan, of course, having occupied Division 2 probably for far longer than we would all have liked. We've only seen a small selection of the county players. And one of the good things, I think, about the new system, the new conference style, is that there will be different teams. I know Glamorgan playing Yorkshire in the championship for the first time in many years. So maybe if Simon, who's on the call, if Simon could hang on then for the answer, maybe we'll send you an email at the end of the season for you to
get back to it. I'll ponder it. I mean, there's always a few guys you think look really good, but then you think, well, they only, they average 30 and they look really good for 25 runs and they get out, and you think, well, maybe, but then they may kick on, they may not, they may learn.
Yeah. I suppose it's a very reassuring thing of the system that we have the setup with the under-19s, the England Lions. There are the observers, all the talent scouts, and compared certainly with English cricket back in the 70s and 1970s, that is, in the 1980s, where I think there was one year in the 1980s where something like 37 different people played in international cricket for England that summer, and names almost plucked out of a hat. And I'm young enough or old enough to remember back in 1975, David Steele being plucked out of county cricket for Northants and being thrown into the Ashes series. I think you can answer this question, Hogs, but Peter, who's on the call, Peter has asked, why is your shirt number 31?
I actually wanted 3, but Brett Dorey had it, so 31 is my birth date. So yeah, that was just the next number I picked. But yeah, there's nothing special. Well, I guess birth date is probably special, but yeah, just 31 is pretty. It's pretty basic.
Okay, well and again, Arnold, who's on the call as well, is asking a question which I think is correct, and you can confirm, I'm sure. Is it right you have never been out LBW in your career in first-class cricket?
Yes, that is correct.
And
I don't think I've been out LBW in any form of cricket for first-class level, I suppose.
Yeah, I do know, and I often say to visiting scorers when you're walking in, ready to take guard, I'll say to my colleagues in the score box, just watch Hogs. you go out there, you have a look at all the scratches which are there, and you just get ready without even asking the umpire for a guard. Is that superstitious, or is that just the way you've always done it?
No, I mean, when I go out to bat, there's generally 3 lines, so you take the middle one and carry on. There's no real, no reason to waste anyone's time. For whatever, I've always had this technique where my back foot goes towards square leg anyway, so probably don't need I don't need to take a guard. I'm never standing in line. Obviously, by the way, I haven't been dismissed LBW, but try and back my eye as best as possible.
Okay, so I'll keep noting. I'll keep noting. I hope, obviously, being partisan, I hope I don't see lots of times next summer when Michael Hogan's batting. I'm hoping that the top order will have done the business, and the middle order will have plenty of runs. But it's certainly, if ever I've got to, and again, if it's in a championship match and I've got to announce Michael Hogan LBW, I might just slip in for the very first time. So you can raise your bat in my direction. You can throttle me later.
I don't know what happens if that happens. I'm not sure. It's become a focal point now. I don't know what will happen.
No pressure on you. It was just the same in his career. Dean Koska never got a 50 at Cardiff. So I was never able to say Dean Koska's 50 came in. He got close, but anyway. So Hogs, I hope I don't have to say, I hope that I'm saying LBW to Michael Hogan rather than Michael Hogan LBW. So let's have the words in that order. A great question here from Adam, who's on the call as well. Adam's question is, how does the county championship compare in terms of intensity with the Sheffield Shield?
It's hard to say because I've not played Sheffield Shield now for 4 or 5 years, but I think it's a little bit low. Can you say it's a little bit lower in terms of it goes through waves. Obviously the season's a lot longer. People tend to get flat through various periods and stuff, but
the English season you're talking about now.
Over here. Whereas in Australia, there's 6 teams in Australia, 10 games, 10 first-class games throughout the season. It's always played at as hard. Very cutthroat in terms of, I guess, if you don't perform, you'll be out. So I think the intensity is probably a little bit higher consistently in Australia, but it can be matched in certain games and in certain periods of games over here for sure, or bettered. There was a period in the game last year. This year, it's still this year, isn't it? In the game against Somerset, where I think both the Overton brothers were bowling, and I was watching from the side and thinking, this is tough. This is high intensity. This is, they were on top, going for the throat, I suppose. Both bowling really well. Jamie bowling fast, and Craig, was bang on. So that was a period in that game where it was as tough as any cricket.
I can remember watching the live stream, and it would have had if that had been a video, I think it would have had an X certificate, or certainly an 18 certificate. It was really, really intense. In fact, the comparisons between the two countries, Will, who's on the call, and Alan as well, have both asked something along similar lines. they're both asking, both Will and Alan have asked, could more be done to the English system to create test match players? Or do you think enough is being done, it says there, to the English system?
Well, no, I don't think there's much more that can be done. No, I think they've from when I first played, my first year here to now, they've advanced the way their system operates a lot. And I think you're probably seeing that now with the likes of Ollie Pope and Crawley and these guys that have come through the system and through a local junior program, and into Test cricket and performing at such a young age. So it's certainly advanced a lot more than probably 9-10 years ago. Yeah, but I mean, there's probably always things you can do better. Probably always things anyone can do better. But I think they're on a right path anyway.
Yeah, and looking forward to the next Ashes series. If it's as titanic as as some of the games involving Mr. Stokes recently, then it'll be a heck of a series. Graham has also asked another question about player development. What can Glamorgan do to bring on more homegrown seam bowlers, especially in the county championship?
That's a tricky one, I guess. What we don't have in the area, I guess, is a great deal of cricket programs in schools. Particularly, I suppose, private schools that you have in England. We don't tend to have too many cricket programs in Wales, which is I guess disappointing. But we try as best as we can. I guess we've had a couple come through, but yeah, not as many as we would like.
Yeah, and linking in with that, Phil, who's on the call, is asking about your thoughts on Glamorgan's new acquisition, Michael Nessa.
Yeah, Ness. Very good. I think he could be. Well, he will be excellent in our conditions, particularly. I mean, he gets the ball full, bowls a decent pace, bowls a good length, and can hit people on the pad. So also bats quite well as well. But I think he's a very very good player. I mean, when we were speaking about signing him, and I asked Justin Langer about him, and he said he's a quality person as well as a very, very good cricketer, and he rated him quite highly. So I look forward to him getting over here and starting to take a few wickets and scoring some runs.
Yeah, and when the coach of Australia speaks in such glowing terms, it must mean that he must be very close then to the Australian team for the upcoming series against India.
Hopefully not too close, but I mean, he's in that bubble, I suppose. He's in that bubble of 20 odd players, I guess. So I mean, there's a lot of players in there that I guess they'd be hoping for. It's tough to unseat the incumbents, I guess, in terms of Cummins, Hazelwood, Stark. But he's there and thereabouts, and he's taken a lot of wickets in the Shield season. He had quite a good a tour match against the Indians as well. So hopefully hopefully he's not that close, and he'll turn up for us on time. But in terms of, I'm sure in terms of his personal goals, he wants to play for Australia.
Yeah, and he made a good start to the Australian domestic season with a century and a fifer in the opening game, and I think an achievement like that hadn't been done for quite a few years in the competition. I've got an interesting question, which Mike, who's on the call, slightly tongue-in-cheek from Mike, who is a good chap because he's a scorer and part of our the Glamorgan scoring panel. But he said, apart from your unbeaten 86 for Newport against Bridgend, what's your favourite innings?
I would have to say, there's been a few. There was a game at the Adelaide Oval where we needed about 80 to win, 70, it must have been 72 to win, something like that, against South Australia, 9 down, and we won the game. I made 40 odd. Won the game, hit a 6 straight at the Adelaide Oval to win the game, which is quite probably the longest in the world in terms of boundaries. That was good. Okay, do you know what? The game last year, the last game of the season just gone, where batted out the last over. That for me
against Warwickshire at Five Gardens,
second new ball, so that go up down. Probably there was a lucky leave in there, but those sorts of things, I enjoy those contests more than, I suppose, 50 off 40 balls when we're 300 in front or things like that. It's the games that actually you have to concentrate and they actually mean something or play a part in a result. That one.
It was Oliver Hannon Dolby at one end and Ryan Sidebottom at the other, running in, and Oliver Hannon Dolby there. It was almost going to be the perfect send-off for Ian Bell standing in the slips in his final game, but no, it wasn't to be.
Well, I managed to, it's a 5th ball, I managed to get a single just forward a point. I left the last ball to Timmy, but that was, those sorts, that was just, disappointing for Ian Bell. He's been a great player for a long period of time, but in terms of us and what we wanted to achieve and how we wanted to fight for that result, it was important, and really, really enjoy those moments in games.
Yeah. Unless anyone on the call's got any other questions, as I say, you can. We've got time if you have on the chat function. But the last question, it's a 2-part question that came in before from someone called Tony, who can't unfortunately be with us this evening. He was hoping to have been with us, but Tony will be watching the film, Hogue, so he'll be listening out for the answers. And what Tony has asked is, what is your favourite ground overall, and what is your favourite ground in the UK?
Favourite ground, I'd say, obviously, the WACA would be my favourite. I'm sure it's every bowler's favourite. You could get nicks that travel 25 metres and be caught waist high. Seeing that ball go through. But I've still managed to hit the stumps a lot at the WACA, which is good. But I played majority of my Australian career there. And here, I like playing at Cardiff. playing at Cardiff. I like, my familiar surroundings, I suppose. It's been the same throughout my career. I like to be, I like to be in familiar surroundings. I think I've said I haven't looked to move teams. So I just enjoy being comfortable in a spot. And yeah, Sophia Gardens is a good place to play. But then, you got your test grounds. I've enjoyed playing at all the test grounds. Lucky enough to play at all the test grounds in Australia, and sort of ticked off the majority here as well. Lords, 5 for at Lords, managed to get 5 for at Lords against Middlesex. That was special, playing there. And I think I would say Sophia Gardens would be my favourite over here, purely because Lord, I've always said, and I'll be hated again for saying this, but Lords is just another ground. What's so special about Lords that doesn't hold any other memories at the SCG or at the Oval? There's always, everywhere's got its own, own sort of persona. Everywhere's got its own memories and its own history. So I would say Sophia Gardens would be my favourite.
And I think the record books, I think I've dug a stat out, which will be appearing in the 2021 Glamorgan yearbook, which will be going to print early in the new year, ready for collection, God willing, at the Glamorgan AGM, or as soon as thereafter, if we've still got restrictions. There is a stat there where I've actually worked out on which grounds you've been most successful, and I think Sophia Gardens has been your happy hunting ground. Well, Hogs, the 2 hours have flown by, and I've got a little bit of housekeeping to do just to finish off. But your honesty, your good humour, and your fantastic recollection of events over the last 10 to 15 years, you've brought some warmth this evening as the thermometers start to dip again. Of course, Santa isn't too far away, so we should be expecting temperatures in single figures. So thanks once again, but I'll do a formal farewell in a couple of minutes. But just to say that this, of course, is the final winter talk of the 2020 season. We've had some great chats, and we'll continue to have some great chats after Christmas as well. And I can say, and this is hot off the press, information will be appearing on the Glamorgan website in the course of the coming week. But I'm delighted to say that there'll be 2 other Australians who'll be with us in the new year, both hoping to link up with us from their homes in Australia, probably in the 2nd week, or if not the 3rd week of January. Michael Kasparovich will be with us from Queensland. And then, all being well, in March, I'm hoping that Matthew Elliott will be able to join us as well. And in early February, we do have a prospective date at the moment of February the 11th, but that will be confirmed shortly. We're going over the Tasman Sea from Australia to New Zealand, where another favourite son of Glamorgan from Chepstow, Adrian Dale, will be with us as well. So Casper in January, Daly in February, and Herb in March. And as well, of course, because in 2021, Glamorgan celebrating their anniversary of first-class cricket, there'll be 2 winter talks each month. In January, towards the end of January, we'll be chatting, or I'll be chatting to some of the descendants, some of the relatives from Glamorgan's first ever season as a first-class county in 1921, and we'll be looking back fondly on the 1920s and the 1930s with the sons and grandchildren of some of those players. In February, we'll be doing the same for the 40s and 50s, and in March as well, we'll be looking at the 1960s and the 1970s. There'll be some film as well, so it'll be 2 hours of nostalgia, celebrating some of the great decades in the history of our fantastic club. So we've got an awful lot to look forward to, and of course, all of us, God willing, hoping that in April we'll be all back at Sapphire Gardens, and if we're not all back there, then it won't be too long before crowds can return, and Hogs will be running in with lots of applause ringing around as the wickets start tumbling out. So, as I say, further information about all of those museum talks, winter talks, will be appearing shortly on the Glamorgan website. Well, it's Christmas, of course, with Christmas cards on the furniture behind me, and I have to say Nadolig Llawin, and of course in a few weeks' time it'll be Blwyddyn Newydd Dda. Merry Christmas, Hogs. Happy New Year, and I'm sure that 2021 will be another great year for you, and all those goals and all those achievements that you were looking forward to in 2020. Well, the best things in life are worth waiting for. So the Michael Hogan testimonial year in 2021. Hogs, thank you so much again for your reflections, your reminiscences, and it's been a great way to end the year of 2020. So from me, I'm going to say noswaith dda, good night. I hope you all continue to stay safe, and I look forward to seeing you again in the new year when Michael Kasperovich will be our next guest. So from here in St Fagans, it's good night from me. And Hogs, do you have a Christmas message? The Queen has a Christmas message, so why shouldn't you?
No, I mean, yeah, obviously just echo your thoughts there, Andrew. It's, hopefully everyone stays safe, and I'd like to thank everyone for their support and continued support over my time here. And yeah, hopefully we see you all as the doctor said. Hopefully see you all in April, and we can get back to some sort of normality. But yeah, stay safe and have a lovely Christmas.
Okay, and on that, North Star, and I hope you all stay safe over the coming weeks as we celebrate Christmas. Thanks very much. Good night.